We are talking trades we have made involving the 107 in our actual Dynasty leagues, who we are going to be drafting here, as well as other trades and theoretical moves we are looking to make with this pick. So make sure to stick around to figure out how to dominate your Dynasty leagues if you are drafting from this slot. So, welcome into the Dino Construction Podcast. I'm your host, Justin, joined as always by David and JP. Today, we are picking up where we left off in our Framing a Rookie Draft series, where we talk trades and theory with each pick in this super exciting 2024 rookie draft class. We are picking up where we left off last time with the big three wide receivers, big three quarterbacks off of the board so far. So, with all that in mind, JP, who are we seriously considering here?
I do think that it's a possibility that a wide receiver with a juicy landing spot starts to come into consideration here, but I think ultimately it's going to be down to Brock Bowers and JJ McCarthy as the best prospects available on the board right now.
So, Justin, normally this segment is where you introduce a trade I've made. For the first time in this entire series, the tables are turning. You have moved the 107 recently. Go ahead and tell me about what you did there.
Yeah, so I was ecstatic. This is an orphan that I took over, a start 10, 0.1 points per carry, 2 tight end premium. So for me with a 0.1 point per carry, it matters a little bit for running backs, but it's not a huge needle mover. I moved Saquon and the 405 for the 107. So for me with the 2 tight end premium, I'm either getting Bowers or I'm getting a Dunze here was what my thought process was. Either way, I am ecstatic in a orphan that I'm taking over. It wasn't a terrible orphan, but I always like to try to liquidate some running back value if I have it. And if I can turn Saquon into the 107, I don't care about adding a fourth on. I'm going to smash that 12 times out of 10. I don't care if my math is off. So now that I got to go on a soapbox for the first time, David, that feels good. I should make more trades, huh?
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Now we're going to jump into our normal rapid fire trade segment where we take trades from dynasty-daddy.com and ask our two experts here to go ahead and tell us which side they would take to get a needle on the market. So starting with David in a start 12, even deeper than we normally talk, 103 and 107 or Jalen Hurts?
I mean, even start 12, it hurts for me easily. I don't really need to go too in depth there.
Yeah, he is good at fantasy football. Now are we going to take his wide receiver, Devonta Smith, or the 107, JP?
I'm going to lean Devonta Smith here. The wide receiver, I just prioritize them over if it's Brock Bowers, JJ McCarthy available here. Maybe if I need a quarterback, I'll consider taking the 107, hoping to get a quarterback there, but I'm going to take Devonta Smith.
Yeah, and that one is not a tight end premium league. So I would be probably inclined to agree with you there. David, start 10, 1.5 tight end premium, Puka, or the 107 and the 110.
I'm going to take the elite asset again. Give me Puka. I think he has another season anywhere close to his last season, and he's up in that elite tier. So I'll take what's known here.
Yeah, I love Puka. Definitely siding with you there. Start 9, 2 tight end premium, JP, CMC, or the 107 and a 25 second.
Chris McCaffrey, he's getting pretty up there in age, but at start 9, man, he is quite the hammer in that format. But I think in a rebuild, you can make a case for the other side. But I think ultimately, Chris McCaffrey is a pretty good value at this with this proposal.
Yeah, that is a win now move that I couldn't blame anybody for making. So now that we've gotten a pulse on what is going on in the market, we're going to go ahead and move on to some other hypothetical situations that our experts here are going to make up. So let's see, you really wanted one of the big three wide receivers in this class. We missed them. What are some options, David, that we can use to turn this 107 into some wide receiver production? And since I'm taking a pretty attractive rookie pick, go ahead and let's see if we can focus on some younger options, not just those old crusty guys.
Sure, yeah. So, like always, I like to, see what's actually happened just to make sure I'm basing this analysis in reality. We saw above in the rapid fire segment 107 for Devonta Smith. We also saw straight up 107 for Nico Collins. I saw it for JSN, for Zay Flowers, and for Jalen Waddle. I think that's about the grouping of receivers you're going to be looking at if you're looking to go straight across one for one. If I can get any sort of plus, I'm willing to do it for all of them. If I'm just set on needing wide receiver production, probably Nico, Devonta Smith, and Zay Flowers are ones that I would definitely do it for. But I think any of those guys are pretty solid if that's what you need. We also saw 107 for Diggs and 112. Now, I know Diggs is old, but you can get your youth at 112 for wide receiver, and you still get the production of Stephon Diggs in your lineup. Pretty good way to split that asset and accomplish your goals just in a different way. And then another one I'll just throw out here was 107 and 102 for Justin Jefferson. Obviously, you have to have the 102 to make this a possibility. But if you do happen to have that and you are looking for a wide receiver upgrade, packaging those two for any of the top three, I think, is a fair attempt. Might not get it done, but at least worth knocking on the door. If I am going to move for a wide receiver, I wouldn't be against trying to package something with my 107, even if I'm looking at, Puka, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, Chris Olave, something like that. I just like going up to the, more elite asset than trying to target one of those likely career wide receiver 2 kind of guys. But you do have plenty of options if this is what you're looking to do with your 107.
Yeah, I appreciate in that Diggs deal you giving me something young back to make me feel better about it. Definitely made me more likely to hit accept there, especially in a deeper format. So now, JP, last year we were spoiled with Laporta, but typically we don't really see rookie tight ends put up big fantasy numbers year one. If you want to get more bankable tight end production, walk me through your thought process.
Sure. As much as I love Brock Bowers, it is tough as a rookie to produce, especially if you're not in the right landing spot with the right scheming. But the guys that I would be looking to target would be guys like Trey McBride and Mark Andrews. I do think Sam Laporta, his price at tight end 1 right now, I think that's a little too expensive for my taste. But Andrews, we can't forget how good he's been. He's before last year, which he got injured, so his fantasy finish is messed up. But the 4 years prior to that, he was a top 6 tight end every single year. He's just been consistently great. He's really not old. He's 28 right now, so he still probably has. If he goes as long as Kelsey, he might have 7 years or something, but still production, and he's still tied to his quarterback. But I think Lamar is a good quarterback. I'd also be looking, like I said, Trey McBride. He is a younger option, probably a little bit more expensive, but even if they grab a Marvin Harrison Jr. type of prospect, I think that he's still going to be a top 2 target for a long time. He was a really great tight end coming out of college. He was athletic. He's, like I said, he's super young, and I think that he could be possibly in that range of I'm not going to say Travis Kelce because his dominant run was uncomparable, but I think he can be close to that range for a decade plus. I just think he is a really great tight end, and I think he's a pretty good trade for target if you do want bankable tight end production right now.
I would definitely be looking at targeting those types of guys as well. However, we can't always get the trades that we want done. Sometimes it's going to end up being a situation where we have to make a pick on the clock. So that being said, when we do have to make a pick on the clock here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a pitch here for one of my favorite players to draft in this range just because it hurts my Buckeye friend David's soul, J.J. McCarthy. So obviously, if you've been following this draft cycle pretty closely like we have, it's been pretty crazy, the meteoric rise that we've seen. It kind of reminds you of Will Levis, perhaps last year, kind of like going up. Anthony Richardson last year, even like throughout like the combine cycle, et cetera, going up to be this surefire thing. Malik Willis a couple of years before going up to be this like, oh, he's going to be the 2 or 3 overall. So like there's definitely concern that he's not going to be getting the draft capital because the production profile is really not necessarily super impressive. However, there are like a lot of extenuating circumstances. If you go on draft Twitter, you'll see all types of analysis about his third down success. You'll hear a lot of people talk about the amount of passing volume just came down to the fact that Michigan is always up. With J.J. McCarthy, there is one other narrative that I do actually buy into because maybe I'm just a sucker. I am a Michigan native, even if I'm not a Michigan fan. And that is the fact that he's a winner, right? He's this guy who came in and won. You can dismiss this all you want with it was the defense, it was the run game. And there's probably some credence to that. David loves to remind me about this Penn State game. I am interested in this narrative a little bit. I'm also interested in his athleticism. I think this is a guy who could be somewhat of a dual threat quarterback, a 400-yard, 500-yard type of rusher, not a 1,000-yard rusher, but adding on a little bit of baseline with his legs as well. Honestly, it is pretty narrative based. It's a little bit of a frightening prospect. I'm just banking on the fact that he's going to be this top 10, possibly top 5 quarterback in the NFL draft. And I just don't have it in me to not be considering that quarterback at the 107. However, I do have to admit, JP, I'm willing to let you talk me out of this one.
Pitching here is none other than Brock Bowers, who was incredibly productive at Georgia. As a freshman in the SEC, he had 13 receiving touchdowns and almost 900 receiving yards. In his second season, he had over 900 receiving yards again. But in 2013, he suffered an injury, but he still had over 700 yards. He was averaging over 70 receiving yards a game. So every time we've seen him, he's been highly productive year in, year out from day one, essentially. He led Georgia. He led the Bulldogs all 3 years in receiving yards. The guy is incredible. He's got great ball skills. He's highly productive. He's a great yak threat, super versatile. I mean, he's got it all. He's also pretty. We didn't see him run at the combine, but if you watch him, you see that he's pretty fast and explosive. And if you guys haven't seen, he just posted a video of himself doing a backflip, which, you know, if you're over 240 pounds, yeah, that's pretty darn impressive. That's an athlete right there. So yeah, I think that he has a very strong case here, especially in a tight end premium. I think that he's a heavy consideration right here.
Yeah, JP, give me a trampoline. I still cannot do a backflip.
All right. I think you both made some pretty solid arguments. I do think there's probably a world where, you see McCarthy land with, the Vikings. He gets to throw to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, maybe even the Raiders with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, not a bad spot. Tight end landing spot is pretty important. We want to make sure that he's in an offense where he's going to be one of the higher targets on the priority list, somewhere where they're going to move him around. All that being said, I think in most cases, I'm still going to lean towards the upside of a positional advantage in tight end. Bowers may not hit that, but he is a lot more likely to hit it at his position than JJ is at his.
All right. So our 107 pick comes into frame with Brock Bowers sitting square in the middle of it. So thank you for watching another episode of our Framing a Rookie Draft Pick series. We hope you found this as useful for you as this exercise was for us. And for all of us here at Dino Construction, until next time.